fishes, Courtney Mermaid here, and in today's video we are going to take a detailed look at two of my fabric mermaid tails. Coming up. Alright, so I get asked a lot of questions about my fabric mermaid tails, and I thought today would be a great day to give you guys a close-up look, we're talking like macro look, at two of my fabric mermaid tails. We are going to be looking at Wanda and at Chester. So yes, Wanda and Chester. There's stories behind the names for my tails, but I wanted to start off by answering a few of the common questions that are asked, and then I will give you guys a detailed look at them with the camera. Alright, so one of the most commonly asked questions I get about all of my mermaid tails: what kind of fabric are they made out of? So firstly, the tails that you see behind me, they're printed tails, okay? This is not fabric that I buy that just comes looking like this. These are all hand designed by me in Photoshop. The painted tails are obviously done painted like with a brush. But yeah, this is not fabric that I buy the fabric, okay? The fabric is a polyester spandex blend. It is a very thick spandex, and the thing is I print it. So people ask me, oh, I want to buy that scale fabric, can you just sell the scale fabric? I don't just sell the fabric printed like this. There's a lot of measurements and it's a lot of time to actually make a tail that can be printed, that can be sewn together to fit a given person's measurements. The fabric itself can be purchased. You can find it online. It is commonly referred to as spacer, neoprene, neoprime, or scuba knit, okay? These are not neoprene. There is a difference. There is no rubber in these tails, okay? They are sort of a faux neoprene, if you will, okay? So that is a common, I know there's other tail makers out there who use it and call it scuba knit, and people expect it to be neoprene, but that is not the same thing, just to be clear. They are sewn by machine. Okay, so I have a sewing machine off to my right here, and they are basically sewn straight down each side of the body. I do a folded over and sewn waistband, and then stitched in at the bottom with the space, which you'll see in a second, with the space at the bottom, so that you can insert your monofin, okay? So I have full tutorials on everything that I'm talking about. People forget my mermaid school playlist. Everything's kind of dumped in there at the moment. I might make a separate section just for the tail making videos, but if you check out in my playlist section, Mermaid School, in there, go all the way to the bottom, you will see detailed step-by-step instructions on how I make these, okay? So go check that out. So people also like to know what monofin I use. So the monofin that I use, or used to use, is the Aquarius, okay? This is what it looks like. This is by Finis. That's the fin. The monofin that I prefer and use currently, and I swear, unless by some miracle somebody comes out with something better, this is the only monofin for me. It's my it's my baby. It was the dream come true. I'm not gonna go nuts, but seriously, really and truly, my baby! So this is the Luna, and this is my all-time favorite, preferred, my monofin of choice, guys. I love this thing so much. Words don't even describe how much fun this thing is to swim in. It's like stupid how fun it is. Just putting that out there. Okay, so that's the other fin that is in my tail. Another monofin that I do make tails for, but do not currently use in tails of my own because frankly I find it really uncomfortable, is the Mahina. So I also have a Mahina now, so I am able to take orders for the Mahina. I know everybody loves the shape and everybody loves the size and the power and the da-da-da-da-da, but for me it's just not my absolute favorite. So I do add tulip paint details. I have a video, I will link to that if I remember, hopefully. I also add sequins to my tails. One of the tails that I'm showing you is the swimming edition of my 2018 tail, as I have two for 2018, and it does not have sequins because frankly it's just too frustrating to constantly be replacing sequins on a tail that I use just for me. So I have one tail that I use for paid content and one tail that I use just for myself. So we're going to be looking at two of my tails today. We're going to be looking at Wanda, who is from 2016, and Chester, who is from 2017, and take a look at how the differences between them and just give you guys an overall kind of look. Let's do this. Okay guys, so these are two of my fabric mermaid tails. This is Wanda, and this is Chester, and yes, there are stories behind their names. I'm not gonna go into that now. So let's start with Wanda here. So Wanda is from 2016. She is they're made of the same material, okay? This one is painted by hand, one scale at a time, and this one was printed. However, this was still designed by me in Photoshop and was hand painted as well in Photoshop. So there you go, you can kind of get a bit of a look-see. So what you can see here is I use two different kinds of paint. The solid color underneath is Permaset Aqua, and the shimmery stuff on top is Lumiere, okay? Again, watch my mermaid school tutorials so you can see exactly, because I actually filmed the entire production of this tail. So you can see where there's some wear and tear, if I can focus here, some wear and tear on some of the sequins. This is the reason that Chester, who is over here, does not have sequins. Chester is my swimmable tail, okay? There is one more version of this tail that I'm working on currently that is getting a full sequin treatment. However, that one is only gonna be for land and some water gigs as well. Anything paid will be done in that tail. So you can take a pretty good close look at how I did this. They share a lot of things in common. The color schemes are all obviously quite similar. This was more what I wanted to achieve with this tail, but couldn't because there are some limitations to what you can do when it comes to mixing pigments or mixing colors and that kind of thing. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but I also wanted to go for a different scale shape for this tail as well. But the stencil that I used was made by myself. I've got two different kinds of stencils. There's actually three, but I don't think I used all three on this tail. I think I used all three on Goldfish, which is another tail. You can take a look at the seam. If I can just fold it for you a little bit. It's a little bit awkward doing this with one hand, but there you go. That's what the seams look like. Now, because I paint the scales on one scale at a time, I'm able to paint right over the seam. So when I do swim in this, the seam isn't as obvious. This is something that Chester shares as well. You can see the kind of waistband that I do is not one that goes all the way across, but it is one that is folded over. So. And to answer your question, no, I do not currently sell these tails because what I would have to charge to make one of these is over most people's budgets, so I don't. And it also, for the amount of time that it takes me, it's not really worth it to sell these, but it is worth it to make one yourself. If you haven't tried, this is a really fun project, and it isn't actually as hard as you'd think it is. It's just time consuming, you know? I mean, some skill is required, obviously, but there you go. So the inside, okay, this is just vinyl. This is nothing fancy, okay? This is just like plastic, basically. And it's glued in to this, and on the inside is Velcro, okay? So that's how this one drains. This I have not tried for my printed tails yet. I don't know if this is something I want to do because this really ruins my sewing machine. Like, I actually have to sew the Velcro into the vinyl, and then the vinyl gets glued into this, but that really is, it's very hard on my sewing machine. And if I can get a second sewing machine or upgrade or something, then maybe I'll do it, because you want this to be able to withstand a lot of pulling on it, right? So it can't just be glued in, it has to actually be sewn in. So I can rip on this, and this Velcro is not going anywhere. So that is what that looks like. The inside, of course, is white. You can see how all the little sequins kind of stick to it there. I do sign my tails and date them, or these ones I have. I didn't do it for these guys, but I think I might, if I can get a stamp made, I might do that. This is what the seams look like on the inside of my tail. Okay, I use a triple stitch, which is like, I think it's 2 forward, 1 back, 2 forward, 1 back, and that's what I use. So you can really pull on this, and I mean, I wouldn't recommend ripping on it, but it will hold nice and sturdy. So that's what that looks like. And that is my Wanda, my baby. The tail that almost did me in. The tail that I thought I wasn't going to be able to do, because I was working on this all through my recovery from my car accident, and it was horrible because I never thought I'd actually be able to swim in this tail, and after everything I went through. So but this is my babies. All right, so now let's take a look at Chester. So also you can see all the sequins. Each one hand glued on. You can take a really close look if you'd like. I know I promised macro, so here it is. There we go. And you can see where some of them have come off already, where there's no sequin here anymore. This is just the shimmery stuff underneath. So what I sometimes do is I'll peel those off or just glue new sequins over top, but I'm not planning on using this tail anymore to swim in. That's why I made 2 of these guys, so that this one could be retired, because this tail kind of means a lot to me, and you know. So this is Chester. And Chester is covered in little tulip, tiny tulip dots, which you can see. So Chester has the same kind of waistband, the same rolled over waistband. This one worked a little bit better because the color goes all the way in. You can see this is white fabric on the inside. So this is only, like, I get this stuff printed. I have a local company that does it for me. And so you can't just, I mean, you can buy scale fabric, but it's not gonna be this kind of thing. I don't sell this. So this is handmade for me. You can see the seams on the inside are gonna be much the same, except for instead of using white thread, I've used colored thread. So I used a different color thread for the seam here because obviously I wanted it to match. I don't want to use white thread and have it showing, or black thread or whatever. And then this one I picked something a little bit darker because I knew that there were areas of my tail that were a little bit darker, but you don't see it through there. So you'll also note I do my very best. It is not 100%, but I do my very best to have the scales line at least the lines part lining up, so it's less distracting that way. This actually turned out really well on Faith's tail as well. So if you haven't seen Nerdmaid Faith's new tail, be sure to check out some of the videos that I've posted on my channel as well. I usually label them when they've got her tail in there. But yeah, so this is the front. I wanted something light, sort of for the belly, because I figured this area would be like softer, just like it is in real life. Haha. And then for the back side, I wanted something a bit darker. So I did a little bit more weathered, a little bit more worn, and that kind of thing, just so it looked like, you know, I'm a 30-year-old mermaid. I think I would have a little bit of wear and tear on my tail, right? So losing tulip dots here apparently. So this is with the back. There isn't much difference past here. It's actually the exact same print on both sides, but all these extra little dots and stuff are all just in the back. So that's what that looks like. You can see where some areas it's closer than others, but I did like that even though it's not quite a scale shape, it still lines up. I know that's a hard thing for a lot of tail makers to figure out. I actually used a light table and did it by hand to try and get it to work. So you can see this is the back side, so this is the side that I stand on the most. You can see that it hasn't, and I do have to stand in this tail. I am still not 100% after my accident, but you can see that there isn't actually much in the way of damage here. If you just take a little look-see, there's maybe just a little bit of scuffing here. The fluke gets it obviously a little bit more. This guy, he dried a little bit wrinkled for some reason. I'm not sure what happened there. I hang these all after they've dried on the rack, but you can also take an iron and just very lightly go over it. But this is what the fluke looks like. So it's sewn only until here, so that way the monofin can right on the inside. Oop, don't go away. Plus it allows for adequate drainage. You can take a look inside. It just means that you're not constantly fighting with a fluke full of water, because who the heck wants that? And that's a little bit here. These are the areas you are just going to be prone to getting more wear. So I've been in this tail a couple of times now. It's getting a little bit loved. Eventually I will need a pill shaver to get a little bit of the pilling off. But because I made 2 of these tails, which is the beauty of having, you design it once and I can print it multiple times, right? So if something happens to this, or I decide I would like a second one or a third one or whatever, it's easy enough for me to go and just order the fabric, print it off, sew it up, and boom, right? So that is that one. Get a little bit macro action for you guys. I know you all like that. So basically it's one scale that I make that I duplicate. However, this pattern is actually the light, the dark, that dark line, and there was shadow, but the shadow didn't turn out. I'm not sure if I accidentally turned the layer off before I brought this to the printer, but hey, what are you gonna do? I think it still turned out pretty darn good. And I'll give you a super ultra sneak peek quick at the sequined version. So this is still a work in progress, obviously, but the sequins are happening. But that is what that looks like with the sequins. So slowly but surely, that's coming together. All right, so that has been a detailed look at 2 of my fabric mermaid tails. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions about my tails that I did not answer, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and I would love to answer them for you. Don't forget to check out my Mermaid School playlist, and little Finice plug coming at you right here. If you guys are interested in grabbing yourself my personal favorite monofin, be sure to check out finiceswim.com and use my special discount code MERMAIDCourtney, that's all lowercase and all one word, and it will get you 20% off your monofin purchase. So all the details and everything for that are in the description box down below. I highly recommend you check out this monofin if you have not already. It was pretty much the answer to my prayers as a mermaid. So I was very, very happy to have this monofin. Super, super amazing, amazing, amazing. And if you like fabric mermaid tails, you're a fabric mermaid tail user, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and bell notification so you don't miss any more of my mermaid adventures. If you guys are interested in checking out my Patreon pod, where you guys can chat with me now on Discord, I finally got that set up, so excited. Be sure to check me out, patreon.com/Vancouver Mermaid, and there's lots of fun behind the scenes stuff that I share with those guys first. Super exciting, so be sure to check that out too. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Happy swimming, bye!